The studio is lit and we are ready to go. Welcome into Bookmakers Review, the Donnie and Kyle Show. College football championship night, Kyle. Super wild card weekend on the horizon. It's a good day here.
Yeah, I mean, thank you to the crowd. Look at that, a little love for Donnie. God in the show. I like that. I think it was for you. I think that was a post-comment you, not a preemptive Kyle. That's what I'm thinking here. If the universe is going the way it's been going, that's probably it. But yeah, here we are, week 18 in the books. No Monday Night Football. Obviously, we have the College Football National Championship Game, which I know a lot of people are interested in. And then, look, I'll be honest, a little bit disappointed with some of the outcomes yesterday.
Yeah, we'll get to a lot of this and more. But, guys, thank you for tuning in here to Bookmakers Review, the Donnie and Kyle Show here. We are so close here, Kyle, to 4,000 subs here on the channel. So thank you guys for hitting that subscribe button. Yeah. But if you're watching live right now, if you're watching on replay, please hit that subscribe button. Turn your notification bells on because me and Kyle go live and talk NFL Super Wildcard Weekend action right through to the Super Bowl. You will get it delivered directly to your inbox. If you're watching us here through the Twitter channel, awesome stuff. Give us a follow at BMR Reviews as well. Let's kick it off. Before we get to the College Football Championship, let's just put a bow on the NFL Week 18, which was absolutely wild, including Black Monday today, where coaches are get canned that probably shouldn't, Kyle, and coaches who should have been canned didn't get canned today. Your thoughts today real quick on Black Monday.
Okay, first of all, how does Joe Judge have a job? When you call a quarterback sneak on 3rd and 9, how does that moron have a job? Absolutely pathetic. And shame on the Giants for keeping him. It shows a lack of direction and leadership. Joe Judge, absolutely boo Joe Judge. Love that here.
That was the Meadowlands yesterday.
What the hell are the Miami Dolphins thinking? Brian Flores, one of the best young coaches in the league. They fire him. I don't know what else you thought you were going to get out of that offense this year. Turn that season around. Putrid call by the Dolphins. Of course, I love seeing Vic Fangio go. Maybe we can have some more excitement in Denver. Mike Zimmer, just the time it ran out there. He's a good coach, good guy. Did some good things in Minnesota, but I think that's the right call. And finally, Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy out in Chicago. Matt Nagy personally destroying our team total yesterday.
Yeah, Grammy said she was very, very disappointed in the season here for the Chicago Bears, and they had to make a move here. But you get to your point, you know, the firing, like you saw it coming out this morning. We knew Nagy was probably gone, and Ryan Pace as well. That didn't surprise us here. Taking a look, you know, Brian Flores, when that hit the wire, because Fangio was also expected to be gone, but when Brian Flores hit the wire, immediately I was doing a show this morning. I said, hey, you know what? They already have their actual candidate here locked up because there is no way that you take a head coach on a football team that, yes, they started the season miserably, but they went 8-1 down the stretch. They're basically a good quarterback away to a Tagovailoa, gets better in the offseason, and staying healthy from making the playoffs and doing some damage next year. And they cut the cord, which means there was an internal power struggle, Kyle, that Brian Flores somehow lost to Chris Greer. To me, I probably would keep the the coach, as opposed to the GM in the situation, but they didn't make a move. So immediately, Kyle, I go, hey, let's see who's coming to town here. You know, Stephen Ross, a huge alum and always supports Michigan, probably picked up the phone 3 days ago. Hey, Jim, what do you say I pay you $100 million over 7 years? Come coach my football team. Done deal. Okay, you like that? All right, let me fire Flores after the game. But then they do a press conference, and Stephen Ross goes, yeah, I'm not even talking to Jim Harbaugh. What is going on in Miami?
Miami, hey. I mean, look, think back to 2 years ago and even coming into this year, all the assets that Miami had, all the draft picks, all the young players. I mean, they fleeced the Texans a couple of times here, and honestly, the GM hasn't done shit with it. I mean, you signed Will Fuller, for Christ's sake. That was your free agent splash in the bringing in Will Fuller, who did absolutely nothing for your team. It makes no sense. And mentioning coaches that should be fired, at least demoted, maybe not ready for the moment. What the hell is Brandon Staley doing as a head coach in the NFL? This guy is clueless on what to do. Then he has the goal. The Vegas Raiders were going to run that clock out and take the tie, and both those teams were in the playoffs. This idiot decides to call a timeout after going for it on 4th down from his own 19-yard line, not taking the points when he needs to take the points early in this game. Brandon Staley, good defensive coordinator for the Rams, did a terrific job. That defense for the Chargers was so soft. They showed an inability to adjust all season long. Their inability to stop the run is the reason they didn't make the playoffs. And quite frankly, bad coaching decisions by Brandon Staley. I don't think he's ready for the moment. He also needs to take a step back. I think they need to reassess the head coaching position in LA as well.
Yeah, aggressiveness. And also, I don't think the time – here's my differentiation on the end of that game. I don't think the timeout mattered all that much as opposed to the execution on defense. Because let's just say, Kyle, he calls the timeout there, right? if you line up the next play and they hand off to Jacobs, which they were never going to pass the football whether you called a timeout or not, and you stop Jacobs for a 3-yard run, you are in the playoffs. But you knew they were running, and he gets 10 yards. That's why you deserve to get beat. Now, I still don't think the Raiders should have actually kicked the field goal because you won the game at that point, right? It was over. You were going to the playoffs. Risky. If you kick the field goal and it gets blocked and they run it back, then you're out of the playoffs. Now, how much of a long shot is that? It's a very long shot. But the simple fact is, the minute they ran for the 10 yards, the game was over. They won, or they tied, and they were going to the playoffs. But I do get a kick out of there who Brandon Staley, who coached horrendously down the stretch. But the analytics guys will say, you know what? It's better to actually not make the playoffs as long as you keep going for it, Kyle.
Yeah, the analytics guys are morons. Brandon Staley was completely stupid. It was hard to watch. I mean, it was just hard to watch. Plain and simple. They make this comeback, and I love Field Yates and everyone else is tweeting out when this is a 12-point game, like this looks like the Steelers are making the playoffs, and they pan to the 2 Steelers fans in the crowd. And then this game, we were speeding at 200 miles an hour to a tie. It was supposed to be a tie. Everything said tie. I wanted to see those upset Steelers fans. Instead, we're stuck with a terrible, terrible Steelers team, sort of a lost playoff game. There's not a whole lot of excitement there. And I kind of feel the same about the Raiders, too. The Colts and the Chargers would have been a lot more fun to watch in the postseason. But those Indianapolis Colts, what an absolutely pathetic showing. They should be ashamed of themselves. It was embarrassing. And so now we're stuck with the Raiders and the Steelers in the postseason. It kind of makes me wish we only have 5 playoff spots in the AFC this year.
Yeah, it's funny because the AFC, which was supposed to be like, oh, my goodness, look at the matchups you're going to get. And you sort of got a little bit of a downgrade. The NFC is still good, but I honestly think like the shakeups yesterday actually hurt the playoff seeding for the most valuable games. The one I am happy about, though, is we're going to get, Bill Belichick and we're going to get, Sean McDermott on the trilogy here in Buffalo at night with decent weather conditions, cold but not windy. So I do enjoy that one, but I think it could have been a whole heck of a lot better. I mean, Joe Burrow going head-to-head with Justin Herbert would have been awesome. And now we're going to see the Steelers get, it's going to be a Big Ben love fest all this week again. I hope they get obliterated on Sunday, and then we'd start talking about, Steelers into the future. But it is what it is. We'll get to those games in just a few moments here. Kyle, but you know what tonight is? The College Football National Championship Game.
Yes, it is.
Hey,
I forgot for just a second.
Buddhist man behind the scenes.
Boo me.
Interesting stuff on this, but we do have the college football playoff tonight, and Kyle is right. Every time I talk to Kyle and I bring this up and try to fire him up, he goes, haven't we talked about this game 37 times? Even when the college football playoff started, didn't we find a way that this was going to possibly be the final? But it's finally here. This game was a 7-point number a couple weeks ago in the SEC championship game, Kyle. We're now seeing 2.5s across the board. And if we take a look at some live updates here on the total in this game, we're seeing 52.5s across the board as well. Nice weather conditions. Why? They're playing in Indianapolis, but it is indoor. We saw both of these teams with the ability to light it up and also the ability to play good defense. 41-24 in the last game where Alabama absolutely destroyed the Georgia Bulldogs. But the Georgia Bulldogs righted the ship in the college football playoff, easily dispatching of a pretty good Michigan team. And then you saw on the opposite side of the bracket there, Alabama said, look, you just ain't big enough. You just ain't physical enough. We're going to hand the football off and we're going to embarrass Cincinnati, which is what they did. Now they meet up in the championship game tonight for all of the marbles. And like I say, I will stand on that carpet, Kyle, with everybody around me with a hand on that carpet, waiting to pull it out from under me. I'm going Georgia -2.5 tonight.
I will be at the front of the line because until I see it, until they prove it to me, I just don't think Georgia can beat Alabama in a big game. It's just a broken record. This is Georgia's year. They're more talented. This defense is historic. No, they're not. When they finally faced a good quarterback, they got smoked. That secondary was lost. They don't have the players who can cover man-to-man. I've said it from the beginning, and I need to see it to believe it. Until then, I'm taking Alabama on the money line. I think they win this game. I'm sort of leaning to that over as well. I think Alabama puts up points easily against that Georgia secondary. Georgia's going to have to throw it a lot with Stetson Bennett, who's been single-handedly picking on the Tri-Lambs for the last 4 years. Now he's going to try to beat Alabama. We're talking about a quarterback who won't even be drafted. I mean, this guy won't even make it to the USFL, the CFL, the XFL, the Detroit Local Youth Football League. Stetson Bennett is a nothing at quarterback. One of the most obnoxious names, Stetson Bennett IV. Like, what an obnoxious name, first of all. I can't stand the guy from birth just because of that. But no, Alabama gets it done. I don't see how they stop Bryce Young. Even have a little sprinkle on the Bryce Young over 310.5 yards. I think he shreds the Georgia secondary tonight. I like Alabama. Till proven otherwise, Alabama is the king of big games, and Georgia always comes up small, and that's what I expect to see tonight.
They are. I mean, you take a look at Georgia, who's been dominated by Alabama for a decade plus here. What's going to change? And I feel like jumping back on that wagon. The one thing that's interesting tonight, Kyle, is if we take a look at the past two games, Stetson Bennett threw for 340 against Alabama and then 313 against the Michigan Wolverines. 6 touchdowns and 2 interceptions combined between those two. So I do think that he can get it going if need be. But also when you take a look at Bryce Young, he only threw for 181 yards in the college football semifinal, but he didn't need to do anything. I think if they didn't even throw a pass, Kyle, they could have actually won that game and won it fairly easily. But the game before that against Georgia, whose vaunted defense, he threw for 421. And take a look here at Bryce Young. Here's the reason why he won the Heisman Trophy. And I'm going to bring up a prop bet, which I want to fade, and it's going to be so painful, Kyle, to watch. One of those where you just go take the dog for a walk, turn the game on at the end, and see how many yards he had. Yeah. If you take a look, going back to the Texas A&M game on the road for Bryce Young, he threw for 369. The following week against Mississippi State, Kyle, 348. The following week behind that, Tennessee, 371. The week after that, LSU, 302. New Mexico State, which he barely played and still threw for 270. Back to full-time, 559 versus Arkansas. Then he threw for 317. And remember that game against Auburn? They were horrendous. Then you look up at the scoreboard like, wait a second. He threw for 317. Then threw for 421 against Georgia. And then obviously the 181 in Cincinnati, which they didn't need him. The reason I'm tying this in here, there's a couple interesting things. 303.5 earlier today was the Bryce Young passing yards number. So over under 303.5. I'm looking at the FanDuel Sportsbook right now on a New Jersey Super Boost. Bryce Young to throw for 305 plus yards tonight, and Jamison Williams, who's the leader in the clubhouse at the FanDuel Sportsbook, to be the touchdown, the odds leader in the clubhouse for anytime touchdowns. That's a plus 280 price. You got to figure if Bryce Young throws for 300 yards and they score touchdowns, Jamison Williams probably going to be involved here, Kyle.
Yeah, I like it. And there's also a little odds boost thing here at BetMGM. Bryce Young to score one rushing touchdown, plus 310. I mean, I could absolutely see that happening. You start getting that condensed field, the athleticism of Bryce Young. Georgia's going to be very good against the run. We know they are. Get that secondary, a little compact on those receivers, a little hole up the middle. Bryce Young takes it in, plus 310. I don't mind a little sprinkle on that as well.
No, it shouldn't be banned. By the way, I always grab, Kyle usually has a drink. I usually have a drink here. Mm-hmm. I got to tell you, the D and the K in front of us here where we're sitting, Kyle, I need that mug.
Like, I know. I was thinking
I want to make that happen. Like, we need that. I don't care if it's a tumbler. I don't care if it's a mug. I need that in my life here. So agreed. I'm trying to reach down in the set here, Kyle, and see if I can grab it. I can't seem to actually make it happen in this whole Twitter thread. There, look at us. Now, look at us sitting back. Now, who's going to be in that chair next to us as well shortly? When we get some big-time guests, Kyle, I think they'll sit in that chair and have some fun. And by the way, what is that? I'm trying to look at that book right next to you. Any idea what that is there? It says picks right there.
Yeah, Lee Martin. Look at
that. Is that Lee Martin?
That's the incomparable Lee Martin.
Yeah, there you go. There's the
crowd cheers. We know the crowd. The audience always loves Lee Martin. We know that. So
I got an issue with this. Like, that should be me on that book right there with a check mark.
Why am I not in the book? Donnie gets the blue check marks. Lee gets on the book, and I just have to sit here and look pretty with no damn credit.
To be honest with you, when I'm looking at the set right now, it should be just me at the desk and Kyle like in the chair, right?
Yes, put me in the chair like Andy Richter. You want to do like Conan O'Brien?
Exactly. No, it seems like what we should be doing. Back to the bets here on the board. Yes. Clap it up because that's the way we do it. Thank you, crowd. Very entertaining here. 2 other odds boosts that are currently listed on the board, Kyle. I want your opinion on here. This is an interesting one. Alabama to win both the first half, Kyle, and the game in regulation, so it can't go to overtime. That sits at a plus 250. The second one that's listed here, college football super boost. Georgia and Alabama to each score 21 or more points. I actually like that, and that's a cheap number. It's plus 130, so I would like it to be higher. Yeah. There's a reason for that. That's attainable as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you look at this total in the game, 52.5. If you're, if you got both teams' team totals at over 20.5, wouldn't you take them both? I mean, I think it makes a ton of sense. And now you're getting a plus number. And those numbers would be, Georgia is the favorite here. So their team total over 20.5. We're probably talking in the minus 200 range if they had those listed, in those orders. It would be pretty low, and same for Alabama. So getting plus money. And I do think both teams get into the 20s because I'm inclined to take the over in this one.
There you go. All right, so I'm trying to take a look here. FanDuel, it looks like they took down some of their odds here, so I guess there might be reshuffling for tonight's game.
I have the team total. So Georgia to get over 20.5, minus 350. Yeah. Alabama to get over 20.5, minus 250.
Jesus. So that's a great bet then.
That's a great bet. It's a great bet. So I like that. 2 teams to get to 21 or more points. Makes a lot of sense.
All right. Here we go. So I got everything up here. Anytime touchdown scored tonight in this game. Jamison Williams, -165. My guy, Brock Bowers for Georgia, -145. Brian Robinson Jr., -125. Then some plus money guys. Zamir White, +110. James Cook, +120. And George Pickens at +135. Sliding it down on some of these other props here. Passing yards in this game. It's up. Bryce Young was 303.5, Kyle. He's now 304.5. And Stetson Bennett is 245.5. Any thoughts on either one of those quarterbacks? I got to say, before I throw it back to you, Stetson Bennett one, actually, I like him a bit more, 245. If you think that Alabama is going to be winning this game, what's going to happen in the fourth quarter? Georgia's not handing the football off. They're throwing it here. That's a pretty low number for him.
Yeah, and here at BetMGM, they're even higher. Bryce Young is 310.5, and Bennett's 247.5, and I think both of them have a great chance of going over. And you're right, the Bennett one, you mentioned his passing yards in that first Alabama game. I do think Alabama's going to put the pressure on and be scoring early, and they're going to have to throw the football. And so I like both quarterback over props. The Pickens receiving 34.5. I know he's just starting to get back into things, but isn't it about time for him to have a big game or a big play? Like, this is a guy who many people are talking about being a top round, a high round selection in the NFL draft. He needs to do something. 34.5 for a receiver of his pedigree seems a little bit low, and I do like that. Bryce Young, anytime touchdown at +310.
Let's get to some player receiving yards tonight, because this is always interesting to me. Obviously, Jamison Williams is at 113.5, which is a big number. Can he get it? Of course he can. He's a really good football player. Brock Bowers, the tight end / wide receiver, great player, young player for the Georgia Bulldogs, Kyle. He is at 72.5. But now the value comes in, because you get the two lead dogs out of the way, and then you guys got like Brian Robinson Jr. out of the backfield. If you think the Georgia Bulldogs going to be bringing the heat all night, it's awesome. This guy plays 3 downs, catches balls out of the backfield. He's only 22.5. Slade Bolden, the slot receiver for the Alabama Crimson Tide, 38.5. George Pickens, 34.5. Burton, 34.5. Cook, 21.5. Ja'Cory Brooks, 47.5. Ladd McConkey, wide receiver here for Georgia, 24.5. They're low numbers, Kyle. In a game that we expect, a game to be at least played in the 50s, you might be able to cash in on some of these lower level guys.
Yeah, I'm liking that Brian Robinson Jr. one. I think that makes a lot of sense. We sort of talked about it yesterday with Jonathan Taylor. Their offense was terrible. Just one screen pass. There it was, 15 yards. Brian Robinson certainly has the ability to do that, especially, so it's not like Georgia doesn't know what happened in that in the SEC title game. They know their secondary was shredded because Alabama spread them out. If they're trying to pay more attention to these receivers, in particular Williams in the slot, that's going to open up things underneath. Brian Robinson could have a big game receiving the football as well as running.
College football national championship game tonight. Certainly be interested in that one, but we got Super Wild Card Weekend on the tilt here. Saturday's NFL slate. Here we come. I mean, this is what we came for, right, Kyle? This is what we came for. The NFL is kicking off this weekend. Super Wild Card Weekend. 2 games Saturday, 3 games Sunday, 1 game Monday night. Let's kick it off here in the first game, Las Vegas and Cincinnati. If we look at the opening numbers here, Kyle, -6 at the FanDuel Sportsbook. Still at -6 at the FanDuel Sportsbook, all the way across Bet365. Actually, it's 6.5 here. Over under in this game, Kyle, opened up at 48.5. Now we sit at 49 and 49.5 across the board here. Decent chilly conditions, it looks like, that we're going to get for Saturday here in Cincinnati. Joe Burrow took the week off with rest, which I do agree with. But here's the issue I have, Kyle. He left that game a week ago injured. Is this one of those games where I'm going to bet the Cincinnati Bengals, and then I'm going to get a whole song and dance how healthy he is, and then by the end of the first quarter, the announcers go, hey, they wanted to keep it under wraps, but they're really worried about Joe Burrow's knee. I don't want to deal with that. And I have to say, even though, now here's the biggest issue in this game I'm going to have if you're looking to bet Las Vegas. Why? Cincinnati is at home, number 1. Number 2, Cincinnati rested their starters here. Number 3, Vegas had to play an exhibition game, an extra period all the way down to the wire just to get into the playoffs, and that was draining. Now they have to go on the road. But I have to say, sometimes that can energize a crew. Am I wrong here for saying that if I can get 6.5 or maybe even 7, that I'm leaning towards Vegas? Because I love Cincinnati. I really do. But I don't know if Cincinnati is mature enough to blow this team out.
Yeah, this line's pretty sharp. For me, this one's a stay away. There's a few things that make me concerned. Do I think the Bengals are a better team? Absolutely. Will I be full-throatedly rooting for the young Bengals to get the Raiders out of here so I don't have to watch Derek Carr anymore this year? Absolutely.
We're good.
Oh, my goodness. But there are some things that make you nervous about taking Cincinnati. You have 3 great wide receivers. the strength of the Raiders has been two corners. Nate Hobbs has been really, really good in the slot, and you sort of saw him give Keenan Allen problems last night. It took a while for that passing game really to get going for the Chargers outside of some big plays to Jared Cook and Austin Eckler, but Keenan Allen was really held under wraps for the majority of that game. It's because Nate Hobbs has played really well. Casey Hayward is also kind of a resurgence of his career. He's played really well this year. Now, do I think he has the speed or the athletic ability to hang with a T. Higgins or a Jamar Chase, who he'll probably see a lot of this weekend? Probably not, but that would be what would concern me. But the Raiders also stink against the run. Joe Mixon got the week off. Joe Mixon's going to be healthy. I can't put money on the Raiders. I'm not a Raiders believer. I don't think this team belongs in the postseason. To me, it's sort of an anomaly that they're there, and it's sort of offensive to me that I even need to watch them in the postseason. That's honestly how I feel about this team. Outside of the goatee of the head coach, Versace there, I mean, he's got a great, talking about this last night, fantastic goatee, like it's painted on. I absolutely love it, but it's Bengals or nothing for me. I may make a first half bet here. I do think they'll come out hot, get behind that crowd early on, and maybe get to that first half bet, but I'm not sure. If this gets to 7.5, you got to go Raiders. Oh, yeah. I'm not sure the Bengals are blowing the Raiders out here.
27 degrees, Kyle. Foggy and winds under 10 miles an hour. So chilly conditions here for a dome team that's going to go outdoors. Keep in mind as well, this is why I love doing Monday shows. We got all week to check these games out. The practice reports, Joe Burrow looks sensational. He didn't have an injury. We just kept him out precautionary. I don't want to see him limited, Kyle, on Wednesday or Tuesday when they practice on this short week here. I don't want to see that. So we'll see how it plays out. But again, leaning towards the week for me, little Vegas Raiders for me, probably Kyle leaning more towards the Cincinnati Bengals. Night game, Saturday night, New England, Buffalo, Jones versus Allen, line at -4. And if coming down the stretch that we saw the New England Patriots, if it isn't clear, it might as well be clear now. If you are playing in a tsunami, in a snowstorm, in a rainstorm, anything possible, then I might take the New England Patriots. But if I'm going to get somewhat decent weather conditions, Kyle, I can't lean towards Mac Jones, who, quite frankly, isn't ready to win it. Donnie, how can you say that? They won 10 games here. Did you watch the games? Either they are beating up on the Jacksonvilles and the Texans of the world, or they're getting beat by better football teams, or Bill Belichick is deciding to run the football 2 times and try to eke out a victory. Weather conditions look decent in Buffalo on Saturday night. Buffalo's handling their business. They'll win by a touchdown here over the Patriots.
Yeah, it's my favorite side of the weekend right now. When you look at just 100% is, you mentioned it. If that wind is under control, so 20 degrees, 21 degrees. When you have pads on, I live in that weather. That's really not all that bad as long as the wind isn't ripping your face off. Yeah. Yep. Winds under 10 miles an hour means Josh Allen's going to have his full arsenal. The playbook's going to be wide open. Patriots in a lot of trouble. I don't know where the offensive points come from out of the Patriots. Mac Jones, you're right, not ready to be an NFL quarterback. He looks terrible. I know he actually looks okay, but the reason I brought that up is here, unless there's something ridiculous we can game plan around, nice conditions, Josh Allen should scorch him. That's my it's a lot of Jimmy Garoppolo for me. Things need to be perfect. The pocket needs to be perfect. Yeah. It's just a lot of that for me. And look, if he's got a perfect pocket and he's got protection and a guy's crossing over the middle, he can make the throw. But this is not a guy who's going to go out there and win you a game. Josh Allen is. We've sort of mentioned some of Josh Allen's bugaboos in the postseason. He had probably one of the weirdest fourth quarters in postseason history a couple of years back against the Texans. Got over some of that last year, but I think Buffalo wins this, and they win it easily.
No doubt about it. Wizard, let's go. Sunday NFL action. Let's get to it. Oh, yeah, you hear the cheers. I mean, the cheers can go on for the next 30 seconds to a minute here because the Philadelphia Eagles are in town against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Jalen Hurts, Tom Brady. Line opens up. Seems a little steep to me, Kyle. I was expecting around a 6.5, 7, and now I'm getting 8.5 across the board here as a favorite for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers up against the Philadelphia Eagles. Over under 49.5, which makes sense. Now, here's what we're coming into. The Eagles rested their players, a de facto bye week. Tampa Bay played their players. Tampa Bay is at home. Tampa Bay's been sensational at home this year. I know nobody wants to go up against Tampa Bay, but me as an Eagles fan, this is actually the game I wanted here because I know I'm getting a banged-up Tampa Bay team. So if you're going to get a team in the playoffs and you're rested and the other team is not and the other team is injured, I'll take my chances. Again, not to say the Philadelphia Eagles are going to win this football game. It's Jalen Hurts versus Tom Brady. They're not supposed to, and that's why it's 8.5. But matchup-wise, I thought this was pretty good for the Philadelphia Eagles here, Kyle.
Yeah, I don't mind it, and that Tampa Bay secondary is certainly beatable, and the Eagles aren't this dominant sort of running team. It comes from the quarterback is really where the crux of their running game is. So that plays away from the strength of the Tampa Bay defense, which is stopping the run with Vita Vea. So if Jalen Hurts can get a few throws under his belt, Philadelphia should be able to cover. I'm not taking Tampa Bay by this. We've seen them struggle to cover these spreads. We saw last year, even on their playoff run, they played Taylor Heineke making, his first or second start. And that was a close game that they could have lost. The Eagles, if you're betting Tampa Bay, bet them the first half. We've talked about this all year. They're a slow starting team. They pick it up in the second half. Tampa Bay first half would be the play for me here. If I'm going full game, 8.5 is just too many. Tampa Bay struggles to cover these spreads. I'll take the Eagles to cover.
Yeah, Tampa Bay with a couple home games here. Tough to beat. We'll see how it ends up, but I think we can all agree. If you came into the playoffs, healthy Mike Evans, healthy Godwin, healthy Antonio Brown, and Gronkowski, it really doesn't matter who else is in the NFC. I think they would walk to the Super Bowl, but that's not the case. You lost two of those three guys at wide receiver. That should be something to keep interest of. And I got to tell you, maybe the game I'm looking forward to most here, Kyle, 147-148, San Francisco and Dallas here. San Francisco, credit you for taking them. I thought they were dead in the water. I told you. Start Jimmy Garoppolo, you get beat. I was laughing my ass off, Kyle, midway through the first half, going, Jimmy Garoppolo stinks. They're down 17-0. This game is a wrap, and they fell apart in the second half. Now, also, you have to give credit to both teams in that game. The Los Angeles Rams came back with a nice scoring drive. I believe it was like 90 yards, scoring with just over 2 minutes to go as a touchdown. I thought that was the final nail in the coffin for San Francisco. But Jimmy Garoppolo, out of nowhere, moves the football down the field on that so-called great Rams defense and did it again in overtime. This is a dangerous team here. We always say this, Kyle. If you can get competent quarterback play out of Jimmy Garoppolo, the Niners can beat anybody.
Exactly. They are one of those teams that can beat anyone. And we've certainly seen Dallas put up some stinkers. I mean, there's a reason they played their starters against the backups this past weekend. Look, that 49ers running game is vicious. And the Cowboys, I know they've improved this year, but that is still going to be the weakness of their team, is stopping the run. And Trayvon Diggs, if he's going to be on Deebo Samuel, he likes to jump routes. I know he's got a lot of interceptions, but he's got a lot of Marcus Peters in him. He is susceptible to the big play. Deebo Samuel might just be the best offensive player in the entire league. He's special to watch. These 49ers-Cowboys games, when I was a kid, these were the end-all, be-all. Steve Young versus Troy Aikman. These were massive games, oftentimes left me very heartbroken. I remember when they first finally beat them in the 1994 NFC Championship game. Burton Hanks, Tim McDonald, they got jumped out to a big 21-0 lead, never came back. That was the 1 year of Deion Sanders. Probably my favorite football moment ever was Steve Young running around asking them to take the monkey off of his back. It gives me chills just talking about it now. These games are always special to me. But I will say right now, I do think the Cowboys are a more complete team. The secondary for the 49ers is not great. There's going to be some holes there. If you bring in Cedric Wilson, Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb healthy, it's going to be tough for that 49ers secondary to stop. If Dak's on his game, they should win this one right now. Right now, early in the week, I'm leaning Cowboys, and it makes me sick to my stomach.
Yeah, 50.5 here as a total, but that is a lot of respect for San Francisco, a -3 only for the Dallas Cowboys, something to keep an eye on this weekend here. The night game on Saturday night, and it's a shame because we're going to get Pittsburgh here, who's going to get absolutely clobbered in this game. And if they don't, I will be asleep by about 9:15 because the Steelers and their jump ball offense with Big Ben throwing for like 40 yards every first half, I'm going to be lulled to sleep by this one. I do think Kansas City wins this game and wins it fairly easily. Maybe Pittsburgh has a little respect in this game and keeps it close for a while, but I don't see where the points are coming from. Where is Pittsburgh scoring 17 points in this game or getting 21 to sort of keep themselves in it? I don't see it, Kyle. I'll keep it quick here. Kansas City for me.
Yeah, it's Kansas City. I don't like these double-digit spreads, obviously, but the Steelers are absolutely out of their league here. They do not belong in the playoffs. It's an absolute abomination that they are even here. Chiefs should beat the absolute hell out of them. Short and sweet. Chiefs or nothing. No way I'm backing the Steelers.
Monday Night Football, Wizard. Oh, my goodness. In the playoffs? Holy moly, Kyle. Monday Night Football in the playoffs here. We got a good one here. Arizona and Los Angeles, two teams that sort of head with a thud heading into the playoffs with a terrible loss for both of these teams. One, the Arizona Cardinals at home never should have had any business losing to the Seattle Seahawks, who were out of it, including getting spotted 7 points in the first minute of a game. Then you had the Rams up 17-0 at home also against the San Francisco 49ers, ended up losing that one in overtime. Do I think the Rams are a better football team? Yes, I do. But I'm going to tell you right now, the Rams are one of those teams that the floor on them, when they don't play well, they'll keep you around. Yep, I love Cooper Kupp, don't get me wrong. Love, Aaron Donald, and Jalen Ramsey's a good cornerback. But there's something that tells me here, Arizona is going to hang around. Early in the week, I know many people don't want to take them. I'll take Arizona lean here at the beginning of the week for me.
Man, these are two teams that are hard to trust, aren't they? This one's a tough one. I think I'm with you on this just because that pass rush for the Rams is sort of the crux of their defense, Aaron Donald. That's not going to work against Kyler Murray. He's going to frustrate that team if they have some extra time to get the ball to those weapons. Of course, they're going to want both Chase Edmonds and James Conner live for this game. You saw how vulnerable the Rams can be against the run. The 49ers dashed them time and time again late in that football game yesterday. 4 points is a little bit too much. I do think the Rams are the better team, but I just can't trust them. Both these teams, real Jekyll and Hyde. Right now, as we sit, I'll just take the points in what should be a fun game on Monday night.
No, it should be, and we'll be able to analyze these all week long, but let's get to some of the best bets on the card tonight. College football championship. I'll keep it simple. You guys know where we're going. I like Georgia, -2.5, and I love that odds boost. Georgia and Alabama, each to score 21-plus points here at the FanDuel Sportsbook at a +130. How about you, Kyle?
I second that notion on that FanDuel Sportsbook odds boost. I think both teams do get to 21 points. I like that quite a bit. And, of course, I'm taking Alabama on the money line. I got to see it to believe it from Georgia. I think Alabama smacks them in the face yet again.
See it to believe it. That's what you just watched here on the Donnie and Kyle Show. Thank you guys for tuning in here on a Monday. We will be back for Super Wild Card Weekend this Sunday. If you haven't done so yet, as we said, give us a subscribe here on our YouTube channel. Turn the notification bell on. Let's head towards 4,000 subscribers here. And if you're watching there through our Twitter channel, thank you for doing that. Also, give us a follow. We're ready to go. The big night tonight. Georgia and Alabama. Super Wild Card Weekend. It is all here. Thank you for tuning in to Bookmakers Review. And as always, good luck on those wagers.